Afterwards by Rosamund Lupton. I couldn't move, not even a finger or a flicker of an eye. I couldn't open my mouth to scream. I struggled, as hard as I could, to move the huge hulk that my body had become, but I was trapped under the hull of a vast ship, wrecked on the ocean floor, and moving was impossible. My eyelids were welded shut, my eardrums broken, my vocal cords snapped off. Pitch dark and silent, and so heavy in there, a mile of dense water above me. Only one thing for it, I said to myself, thinking of you, and I slipped out of the wrecked ship of my body into the black ocean. I swam towards the daylight with all my strength, not a mile deep after all, because I was suddenly in a white room, brightly gleaming, smelling pungently of antiseptic. I heard voices in my name. I saw that the body part of me was in a hospital bed. I watched a doctor holding my eyelids open and shining a light into my eyes. Another was tipping my bed back, another putting an IV into my arm. You won't be able to believe this. You're a man who dams rivers and climbs mountains, a man who knows the laws of nature and physics. Physics. Hogwash, you've said to the TV when anyone talks about anything paranormal. Although you'll be kinder to your wife, not consigning my words to be fed to pigs, you'll think it's impossible. But out-of-body experience do happen. You read about it in the papers, hear people talking about it on the radio. But if this was real, what should I do? Push my way through the doctors and elbow out the nurse who was shaving my head. Excuse me, gangway, sorry, my body, I think. I'm right here, actually. Thinking ridiculous things because I was afraid. Sick, goosebumps, shivering, afraid. And as I felt afraid, I remembered blistering heat and raging flames and suffocating smoke. The school was on fire. You were in your important BBC meeting this afternoon, so I won't have felt the strong warm breeze, a godsend for sports days. Parents were saying to each other, I thought that even if a God existed, he'd be a little tied up with starving people in Africa or abandoned orphans in Eastern Europe to worry about providing free air conditioning for Sidley House School's sack race. The sun shone on the white lines painted on the grass, the whistles hanging around the teachers' necks glinting. The children's hair was shining bright, touchingly two big feet on small legs, bouncing on the grass as they did the 100-meter dash, the sack race, the obstacle course. You can't really see the school from the playing field in summertime. Those huge pollarded oaks hide it from view, but I knew a reception class of 4 years old was still in there, and I thought it was a shame the youngest children couldn't be out enjoying the afternoon too. Adam was wearing his I am 8 badge from our card this morning, just this morning. He came hurrying up to me, that little face of his beaming, because he was off to get his cake from school right now. Rowena had to get the medals, so was going with him. Rowena, who was at Sidley School with Jenny all those moons ago. As they left, I looked around to see if Jenny had arrived. I'd thought that after her A-level disaster she would immediately start revision for her retakes, but she still wanted to work at Sidley School to pay for her planned trip to Canada. Strange to think I minded so much. I thought her being a temporary teaching assistant at 17 was challenge enough, and now she was school nurse for the afternoon. We gently crossed swords at breakfast. It's just a little young to have that much responsibility. It's a primary school sports day, Mom, not a motorway crash. But now her shift was almost over with no accidents at all, and soon she'd be out to join us. I was sure she'd be itching to leave that small stuffy medical room stuck at the top of the school. I'd noticed at breakfast that she was wearing that red frou-frou skirt with a skimpy top, and I told her it didn't really look very professional. But when did Jenny ever listen to my advice on clothes? Just count your lucky stars I'm not in bumpsters. You mean the jeans that hang around boys' bottoms? Yep, I always wanted to go and give them a hitch up. She burst out laughing, and her long legs do look rather wonderful under the too short, gauzy skirt, and despite myself I feel a little proud, though she got her long legs from you. On the playing field, Maisie arrived, her blue eyes sparkling, her face one large smile. Some people dismissed her as slightly eccentric in her fun shirts, long sleeves, a different pattern to the rest, but most of us love her. Gracie, she said, giving me a hug, I've come to give Rowena a lift home. She texted me a little while ago, said the tubes were up the spout, so chauffeur Mom to the fore. She's getting the medals, I told her. Adam's gone with her to get his cake. They should be back any minute. She smiled. What kind of cake this year? A chocolate tray bake. Addie dug out a trench with a teaspoon, and we took off all the candy and replaced it with soldiers. It's a World War I cake, which is violent but fits with the curriculum, so I don't think anyone will mind. She laughed. Fantastic. Not really, but he thinks so. Is she your best friend, Mom? Asked Adam. Adam asked me recently. Probably yes, I said. Maisie handed me a little something for Adam, beautifully wrapped, which I knew would contain a spot-on present. She's brilliant at presents. It's one of the many things I love her for. Another is that she ran in the mother's race every single year that Rowena was at Sidley House and came in last by a mile every time, but she didn't give a hoot. She has never owned a piece of lycra clothing, and unlike virtually every other mother at Sidley House, has never been inside a gym. I know, I'm dawdling on that sunny playing field with Maisie. I'm sorry, but it's hard. What I'm getting to is just so bloody hard. Maisie left to find Rowena in the school. I checked my watch. It was almost 3. Still no sign of either Jenny or Adam. The PE teacher blew his whistle for the last race, the relay. Bellowing through his loudspeaker for teams to get in position, I worried that Addie would get into trouble for not being in his designated place. I looked back at the school, thinking surely I'd see them coming towards me any moment. Smoke was coming from the school building, thick black smoke like a bonfire. I remembered the calm most of all, the absence of panic, but knowing it was accelerating towards me like a juggernaut. I had to hide, quickly. No, I'm not in danger. This terror isn't for me. My children are in danger. It hit me in the chest full on. There is a fire, and they are in there. They are in there, and then I was running at the velocity of a scream, running so hard that I didn't have time to breathe. A running scream that can't stop until I hold them both. Darting across the road, I heard sirens blaring on the bridge, but the fire engines weren't moving. They were abandoned cars by the traffic lights blocking their path, and women were getting out of other cars just left in the middle of the road, and were running across the bridge towards the school. But all the mothers were at the sports day. What were these women doing, kicking off their high wedge shoes and tripping over flip-flops and screaming as they ran? Like me? I recognized one, the mother of a reception child. They were the mothers of the 4-year-olds coming to their usual pickup. One had left a toddler in her abandoned SUV, and the toddler was hitting the window as he watched his mother in this ghastly mother's race. And then I was there first, before the other mothers, because they still had to cross the road and run down the drive. And the 4-year-olds were lined up outside the school with their teacher, a neat little 2x2 line, and Maisie was with the teacher, with her arm around her, and I saw how shaken the teacher looked. Behind them, black smoke poured out of the school like a factory chimney stack stained the summer blue sky. And Adam was outside by the bronze statue, and he was sobbing against Rowena, and she was holding him tightly. And in that moment of relief, love flooded out from me, not only onto my boy, but onto the girl who was comforting him. I allowed myself a second, maybe two, to feel gut-wrenching relief for Adam, and then I was looking for Jenny. Bobbed blonde hair, slender. No one like Jenny outside. From the bridge, the sirens wailed, and the 4-year-olds were starting to cry as they saw their mothers, running full tilt towards them down the drive, tears streaming down their faces, arms outstretched, waiting for that moment to hold their child. And I turned towards the burning building, black smoke billowing out of the classrooms on the second and third floors. Jenny.